Along with Jim Lorentz and Ted Darling, they're standing by upstairs right now. And with me is the guy who has put this Nordiques team together and has actually turned it into a legitimate Stanley Cup contender, General Manager Maurice Filion. Maurice, I know that home ice advantage has to be awfully big in this series, as evenly matched as the two were, so you have to be happy that that happened.
Well, we're very pleased about it. There's no doubt in anybody's mind, but when you do have that ice advantage, you don't want to lose it, though. I mean, this is why I guess the pressure's on the Nordiques tonight. If we ever lose that first game, then we have to go back and at least win in Buffalo. So this is why but it's good to play home. I got to say this, it's great. So we're very pleased to have that highest advantage, and let's hope we keep it.
What do you see as the keys to this series?
Well, I believe it's Barrasso and whoever will play. Like tonight, it's Gosselin for us. So it'll be goaltending. It doesn't matter if you want to go anywhere in the playoffs, if you want to win Stanley Cup or any series, it's really something. The goalkeeper has a lot to do.
Well, I know this will probably be a very physical series, and I'm sure Michel Bergeron has stressed to his club to not back down at all. The Sabres tend to be very physical at times.
Well, they do have heavy players on that team. They got a good team. We do really have a lot of respect. The past month and a half, we've been fighting with the Montreal Canadiens, the Buffalo Sabres, for the first place. Now it didn't really matter who we played at, Boston or Montreal or Buffalo. We know it's going to be tough, and either team can win the Stanley Cup or go further. But it's going to be, I think, great hockey. It's going to be good for the fans. It's going to be good for the television people and everybody. So that's why I'm very pleased about it.
All right, Maurice, best of luck tonight throughout the rest of the series and the rest of the Nordique season.
Thank you very much.
However long that may be. Well, right now let's go upstairs to Ted and Jim.
Well, thank you, Ed. Well, Jim, they say in a 5-game series, really the key has got to be goaltending. And Tom Barrasso is back in the lineup for the Buffalo Sabres. He's been skating for the last 3 days, but it's not known exactly what shape he's in.
No, it isn't. But he led the National Hockey League with a 2.66 goals against average. And needless to say, there's a lot of pressure on his shoulders, and I think that he's able to handle that kind of pressure. But when you look at a club like Buffalo, out of the 16 teams in the playoffs, they're 15th as far as total goals scored for. And I think there's extra pressure on a goaltender in that situation, because he knows that going into a game, normally the Sabres are not going to score a lot of goals, and I think that's just a little bit extra for him to think about. Now, you take Quebec, on the other hand, maybe the goaltenders might be a little bit looser in the sense that Quebec has an explosive scoring team, so they know that maybe if they let a bad one in here or there, that Quebec will be able to overcome that. But there's a whole lot of pressure on Barrasso, but I think he's very capable of handling it.
And as far as the Sabres are concerned, they have 25 players with them, and they had to set out 5, included in the 5, and a very surprise, we just heard it a moment ago, and that is Bill Height.
Boy, that was a shock. Bill Height is not playing, and we have to assume, of course, that is because of that shoulder injury that he suffered. And I read in the paper, I guess yesterday, that it was a little bit tender yet. So obviously, it is a lot worse than everyone was letting on. And boy, they're going to really miss Billy Height. But it just means that everybody else is going to have to reach down and come up with a little bit extra.
Jerry Korab is back in the lineup tonight. Jim Schoenfeld, they thought perhaps he wouldn't be able to play because of strained neck muscles, but he is in the lineup. And Dave Andrechuk, and we'll probably see Andrechuk maybe only spot duty perhaps on the power play.
I think so. Andrechuk led the team with 14 power play goals, and as you can see, look at the shoulder pads on Andrechuk. They're oversized. They're almost like a football player, so obviously he still has some tenderness in his shoulder also. But it's good to have Andrechuk back. It gives Quebec something to think about, something extra to think about. He is a great goal scorer, and as you said, I think Scotty will probably just work him on the power play and just see how he is.
Now, Peter Stastny did not play in the 2 weekend games, the final regular season for the Quebec Nordiques. He had a very high temperature, suffering from the flu, and he's just been back on skates, I think, for the last day or so. So he's not going to be performing 100%.
No, I don't think Peter Stastny will be 100%. It's going to be interesting to see what Michel Bergeron does. He had that Stastny with his brother along with Goulet all on one line, and a lot of people are saying, well, he's putting all his eggs in one basket. But we'll have to just wait and see what's going to happen tonight. I think this should be a very interesting game.
Now, with the start of this playoff series, of course, the Sabres have in the lineup tonight something they didn't have last year, and that was Gilbert Perreault.
Well, Gilbert Perreault missed all 3 games last year, and I really think that took away from what or gave Bergeron an extra thing to do.